The stars trembled when the Vorthok came. Their black ships moved like hungry beasts through space, leaving dead worlds behind them. For 200 years they had swept across the galaxy like a plague of death. 73 star systems had fallen to their claws and teeth. War Alpha Krextall stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. Earth, another world full of soft creatures waiting to be hunted. His yellow eyes gleamed with excitement as he studied the readings from his scouts. The humans were weak. Small bodies, no natural weapons, slow reflexes. Their technology was primitive compared to Vorthok bioships that could heal themselves and adapt to any attack. This would be easy. Too easy, perhaps. Krextall preferred prey that could run and fight a little before dying. War Alpha, his second in command, hissed through sharp teeth. The outer colonies are poorly defended. We could take them in hours. Krextall's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. No, we follow the old ways. Find their strongest. Break them first, then the rest will surrender like all the others. The Vorthok way of war was simple and had never failed. Every species had champions, warriors they looked up to and feared to lose. Kill the champions in public, broadcast their deaths across the world, and the spirit of resistance died with them. After that, the survivors became cattle waiting for slaughter. On Proxima Station, Commander Jake Morrison watched the alien ships approach through his command center's windows. The station orbited a red dwarf star 3 light-years from Earth. It housed 50,000 colonists and served as humanity's furthest outpost. Jake was 42 years old, career military man with gray starting to show in his brown hair. He had fought pirates and smugglers, but never aliens. No human had. This was first contact, and it looked like it would be their last. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," his communications officer reported. "It's coming from the lead ship." Put it on screen. The image that appeared made several people in the command center step back. Krextall was 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. His head was long and narrow like a crocodile's, but his eyes held intelligence. Cold, calculating intelligence. Soft creatures of the blue world, Krextall spoke in perfect English, his voice like grinding stone. "I am War Alpha Krextall of the Vorthok Empire. You have the honor of being our 74th conquest." Jake keyed his microphone. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Proxima Defense Force. You are entering human space without permission. Turn around and leave." Krextall's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "Brave words for prey, but your bravery will make the hunt more interesting. Here are our terms. Small creature. Send us your 10 strongest warriors. We will fight them in single combat and broadcast their deaths to your people. After that, the rest of you will be granted quick deaths instead of being taken alive for our hunting preserves. And if we refuse, then we will take what we want anyway, and your deaths will be slow." Jake looked around his command center. People worked there, men and women from Earth and the colonies. They were scared, but they were ready to fight. He saw it in their eyes. "Here's our counteroffer," Jake said. "Leave now, or we'll send you home in pieces." The alien's laugh was like breaking glass. "Such spirit, you will be fun to hunt. It's very well. We will take your station first. Consider it a demonstration for the rest of your species." The transmission ended. Jake immediately opened channels to Earth and the other colonies. "All stations, this is Proxima Command. We are under attack by hostile aliens calling themselves the Vorthok. They appear to be a predator species looking for conquest. We are outnumbered and outgunned, but we will not surrender. Transmitting all data on their ships and weapons now." The response from Earth Command came quickly. "Proxima, this is Admiral Tony Clark. Hold your position. Reinforcements are coming." "Sir, they won't get here in time," Jake's tactical officer said quietly. "The aliens will be in weapons range in 6 hours." Jake nodded. He knew the math. But something about the alien leader bothered him. The creature talked about hunting and single combat like it was some kind of game. It wanted to break human morale by killing their champions. That suggested, the Vorthok thought in simple terms. Predator and prey. Strong and weak. They had no idea what they were really dealing with. "All right, people," Jake announced to his crew. "We're not the strongest humans in the galaxy. We're not the smartest or the bravest. But we're what's standing between these things and Earth, and that makes us enough." He opened a channel to the entire station. This is Commander Morrison. "In a few hours, we're going to be attacked by aliens who think we're easy prey. They're about to learn something about humans that every predator on Earth learned the hard way. We don't fight fair, we don't fight alone, and we never give up." On his flagship, Krextal watched the human ships moving into defensive positions. Around their station, so few ships, so small and weak. His bioscanners showed the humans inside were releasing stress chemicals, their hearts beating fast with fear. Good. Fear made the meat taste better, but something nagged at him as he watched. Their formations. The ships moved in coordinated patterns, each one covering the other's weak spots. Most prey species scattered when faced with superior predators. These humans were clustering together like pack animals, no matter. Pack animals died just as easily. As individuals, easier sometimes, since you could trap the whole group at once. Krextal gave the order to attack. His bioships surged forward, their living hulls rippling with excitement. The hunt was beginning. Neither the War Alpha nor Commander Morrison knew it, but they were about to teach each other lessons that would change the galaxy forever. The Vorthok were about to learn that some prey could bite back, and humanity was about to discover that they were not alone in the universe. The real hunt was just beginning. The first battle at Proxima Station lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the station was gone, and half of Jake Morrison's ships were floating debris.
Ow.
But the Vorthok had lost 2 of their bioships, and War Alpha Krextal was no longer smiling. The humans had fought like nothing he had ever seen. Instead of sending their strongest warriors forward, they had worked together like a single creature with many arms. When one ship was damaged, 2 others would cover it while it retreated. When the Vorthok tried to surround a human vessel, the others would change formation to trap the aliens instead. Most disturbing of all, the humans had learned during the battle. Their weapons had been weak at first, but by the end they were targeting the exact spots where Vorthok bioships were most vulnerable. They adapted faster than any species Krextal had ever hunted. On Earth, Marine Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood in the Global Defense Command Center, watching data streams from the battle. She was 35 years old, tough as nails, with short black hair and scars on her hands from a dozen conflicts. But she had never seen anything like this. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we're getting reports from 17 colony worlds. Aliens are hitting them all at once." Lisa studied the tactical display. Red dots showed Vorthok fleets attacking human settlements across 50 light-years of space. But something was wrong with their attack pattern. The aliens were treating each battle as separate events, not as part of a larger war. They're hunting, she realized. Each fleet is acting independently. They're not coordinating their attacks. Admiral Tony Clark, a gray-haired veteran with tired eyes, joined her at the display. "That's good for us. We can concentrate our forces." "No, sir," Lisa said, shaking her head. "That's not how we beat them. Look at this data from Proxima, Commander Morrison's. People didn't win by being stronger. They won by being smarter, by working together." She pulled up the battle recordings. "See how the Vorthok ships attack? Each one goes for glory. They compete with each other even during battle. But our people covered each other, shared targeting. Data coordinated every move." Tony nodded slowly. "You're saying we need to fight as one unit across the entire war zone?" "Exactly. We connect every human ship, every defense platform, every soldier, to a single network. When one colony learns something about Vorthok weaknesses, every other colony knows it instantly." Within hours, the quantum communication network was online. Every human military unit in the galaxy was now connected in real time. When Navy pilot Sam Carter discovered that Vorthok bioships were vulnerable to coordinated missile strikes at their connection points, that information reached every human commander within minutes. Sam was 28 years old, a hotshot pilot. With steady hands and quick reflexes, He flew a Raptor-class fighter, fast but lightly armed. Against a Vorthok bioship, he should have been dead in seconds. Instead, he was leading a pack of 12 fighters against a Vorthok cruiser above the colony world of New Texas. The alien ship was 3 times the size of any human vessel, its living hull rippling with weapon pods and sensor organs. "This is Wolf Leader," Sam said into his comm. "Remember, we're not trying to kill this thing alone. We're setting it up for the pack." The human fighters spread out, forcing the Vorthok ship to choose targets. But every time it focused on one fighter, the others would hit it from different angles. The alien ship spun and twisted, trying to bring its weapons to bear, but the humans stayed just out of reach. "Wolf Leader, this is Prowler Squadron," came a voice from space. "We're in position." Sam grinned. 20 human bombers had used the distraction to get close to the Vorthok ship's blind spot. "All wolf fighters, break off. Let the big dogs play." The bombers struck together, their missiles hitting the same section of the bioship's hull. The alien vessel shuddered, its living armor cracking. Green fluid leaked into space as the creature ship screamed in pain and rage. On the alien ship, Warbeta Threxka could not understand what was happening. These humans fought without honor, without courage. They ran from single combat and struck from hiding. They were cowards and weaklings. But they were winning. Dr. Amy Foster stood in her laboratory on Earth, studying pieces of Vorthok technology recovered from the battle sites. She was a small woman with thick glasses and graying hair, but her mind was sharp as a blade. What she found in the alien biotech changed everything. "My God," she whispered, looking at the neural patterns in the Vorthok brain tissue. "They can't think together." She called Lisa Rodriguez immediately. "Captain, I need to brief you on the aliens. It's not just that they prefer individual combat. They're literally incapable of true cooperation." "What do you mean?" "Their brains are wired like Earth's big cats, solitary predators. They can follow a hierarchy, take orders, but they can't share thoughts or coordinate instinctively like pack hunters. Every Vorthok thinks he's the alpha, even when he's following orders." Lisa felt a chill of understanding. "That's why they're losing. They see our coordination as cowardice because they can't do it themselves." "Exactly, and there's more. Their ships are living creatures, but each one is a separate organism. They don't share information between ships automatically like our computers. When we learn something, our entire fleet knows it. When they learn something, only that one ship benefits." The implications were staggering. Humanity had stumbled onto the perfect enemy. The Vorthok were stronger, faster, and more advanced. But they were individuals trying to fight a collective intelligence. As the second wave of battles began across human space, the pattern became clear. Human colonies that should have fallen easily were holding out. Human fleets that should have been destroyed were adapting and striking back. The Vorthok Empire, undefeated for 2 centuries, was facing its first real resistance, and the humans were learning faster than the aliens could adapt. War-Alpha Krextal received reports from 12 different battle zones. The same story everywhere. The humans were weak individually, but together they were something else entirely. Something the Vorthok had never encountered in their long history of conquest. For the first time in his life, Krextal felt something he had never experienced before. It was small and cold, growing in his chest like a parasite. It was fear. The pack was awakening, and the galaxy's apex predators were about to learn what it meant to be hunted. Army Colonel Ryan Hayes stood on the bridge of the human cruiser Tenacity, watching Vorthok bioships chase his fleet through the Centauri system. Aliens had been following him for 6 days now, and they were getting tired. Ryan was a tall man with steady gray eyes and the patience of a career soldier. He had studied every predator on Earth, and he knew their weakness. Big predators were built for short, explosive hunts. They could not keep going forever like humans could. "Sir, the alien ships are falling behind," his navigator reported. "Energy readings are dropping." Ryan nodded. "Good. Maintain current speed. Don't let them rest, but don't lose them either." This was humanity's oldest hunting strategy, brought to the stars. On ancient Earth, human ancestors had hunted giant beasts. Not by being stronger or faster, but by never giving up. They would chase an animal for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then they would move in for the kill. War Alpha Krextel felt the fatigue deep in his bones. His bioship was tired too, its living hull rippling with exhaustion. They had been chasing these humans for almost a week, and every time they got close, the prey would speed up just enough to stay out of reach. War Alpha, his weapons officer, hissed, "We should return to base, resupply, and rest." Krextel's claws scraped against his command throne. "No, we are predators. Do not retreat from prey." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at his mind. This was not how hunts were supposed to go. Prey was supposed to panic, scatter, or stand and fight. It was not supposed to lead predators on endless chases through empty space. On the human ship, Ryan smiled as he watched the alien energy signatures. Growing weaker, communications sent a message to all fleet commands. Operation Tired Dog is working. Begin Phase 2. Across human space, the pattern repeated. Human fleets would strike at Vorthok forces, then retreat when the aliens gave chase. But they never retreated in panic. They moved with purpose, always staying just ahead of their pursuers, never letting them rest. Engineering Chief Kevin Stone worked in the bowels of a captured Vorthok bioship, his tools cutting into alien technology. Kevin was a short, stocky man with oil-stained hands and a brilliant mind for machines. Around him, a team of human engineers dissected the living vessel like surgeons. "This is incredible," Kevin muttered, studying the alien ship's nervous system. "The whole ship is basically one big animal. But look at this neural pathway here."
His
assistant, a young woman named Carol, leaned over his shoulder. "What am I looking at? Pain receptors? The ship feels everything that happens to it. When we shoot it, it actually hurts." Kevin's eyes lit up with understanding. "And if it hurts, we can make it afraid." Within hours, Kevin's modifications were being transmitted to every human fleet. Human weapons were recalibrated not just to damage Vorthok bioships, but to cause them maximum pain. The ships would recoil from attacks, sometimes breaking off combat to escape the agony. Intelligence Officer Maria Santos sat in a dark room on Earth, broadcasting across the galaxy. She was a small woman with sharp features and a voice that could cut through steel. Her job was to break the enemy's spirit, and she was very good at her job. "People of the galaxy," she spoke into the camera. "Today you will see something that has never happened before. You will see the mighty Vorthok run. From battle to the video feed switched to footage from the Centauri system. Vorthok bioships, once the terror of the stars, fled from smaller human vessels. The mighty predators looked exhausted, their ships moving slowly and clumsily. For 200 years, the Vorthok have told you they were the apex predators of the galaxy. They said no one could stand against them. They were wrong." Maria's broadcast reached every world in Vorthok space. Species that had surrendered without a fight watched in amazement as their conquerors retreated from battle. On a dozen worlds, resistance movements began to stir. The broadcast reached War Alpha Krextel, just as his fleet finally broke off pursuit of Ryan's ships. The alien commander watched in horror as his own forces were shown fleeing from human vessels. The shame burned in his chest like acid. "Turn off that transmission," he snarled. "War Alpha," his communication officer said quietly, "it is being broadcast on all frequencies. We cannot block it." Krextel's roar of rage echoed through the ship. But beneath the anger was something worse. Fear was growing inside him, cold and dark. The humans were doing something to him that no prey had ever done before. They were making him doubt himself. On Earth, Admiral Tony Clark studied reports from across human space. The Persistence hunt was working better than anyone had hoped. Vorthok fleets were exhausted, demoralized, and scattered. But Tony knew this was just the beginning. "Captain Rodriguez," he called to Lisa, who was coordinating the ground war. "How? Are our allies holding up?" Lisa smiled grimly. "The species the Vorthok conquered are starting to remember how to fight. The Althoran resistance just took back 2 of their home worlds. The Zilani are sharing their bioweapon research with us. Even the collective is contributing computing power to our network. The Vorthok never expected this, Tony realized. They thought conquest meant the end of resistance. They never learned how to hold territory against determined enemies. On the Vorthok homeworld, the Council of War Alphas met in emergency session. Krexthal stood before his peers, trying to explain how the mighty empire was losing 2 creatures. They had dismissed as weak prey. The humans do not fight with honor, he said. They run from battle, strike from ambush, and turn our own slaves against us. War Alpha Vexstar, an ancient creature with scars covering his scales, studied the battle. Reports, "You speak of honor, Krexthal, but honor does not win wars. Results win wars, and the humans are getting results. What do you suggest? We end this quickly. Gather the entire fleet. Strike at their homeworld. Cut off the head of this human." Pat Krexthal felt a moment of relief. Yes, that was the answer. One massive strike at Earth itself. Destroy the human homeworld, and the resistance would collapse. But as he gave the orders to gather the fleet, doubt still gnawed at him. The humans had surprised him at every turn. What if they were ready for this too? What if this was exactly what they wanted him to do? For the first time in Vorthok history, an apex predator was second-guessing himself. The hunters were learning what it felt like to be hunted, and they did not like the lesson. The persistence hunt was working. The galaxy's greatest predators were tired, scared, and making desperate decisions. And desperate predators, as any human hunter knew, were the most dangerous kind of all. Admiral Tony Clark stood in the command center of the battleship Liberty, watching the largest fleet in human history assemble around Earth. 200 ships from every human colony, armed with weapons that did not exist 6 months ago. But these were not the most important allies joining the fight. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the Althoran fleet has just jumped in. 60 ships, all equipped with their new shield technology." Tony smiled. The Althorans had been slaves to the Vorthok for 50 years. Crystal-based technology created energy shields that could stop almost any weapon. They had given this technology freely to humanity, asking only for the chance to fight beside them. "Sir, the Zilani bioships are taking position on our flanks," another officer announced. "They're requesting permission to deploy their plague weapons." The Zilani were even more recent allies. The Vorthok had conquered their world just 10 years ago, planning to use them as living weapons against other species. Instead, the Zilani had joined the human cause, bringing their knowledge of biological warfare to the fight. "And the collective?" Tony asked. "All human ships now have enhanced computing power, sir. The machine intelligence has linked every vessel. In our fleet, we can coordinate attacks faster than ever before." Tony nodded. This was humanity's greatest strength, the thing that made them different from every other species in the galaxy, where the Vorthok saw only predator and prey. Humans saw potential allies. They had turned the Vorthok Empire's greatest weapon against them. Dr. Helen Parker stood in the diplomatic section of the Liberty, speaking with representatives from 12 different species. Helen was a small woman with kind eyes and a gift for languages. In 6 months, she had learned to communicate with beings that had never met humans before. "The Vorthok will come in force," she told the assembled aliens. "They will try to break our fleet with one massive attack. But we have something they do not understand." Althoran representative, a tall being made of living crystal, chimed. "Like wind through glass. What do humans possess that the Vorthok lack?" "Friends," Helen said simply. "The Vorthok have slaves and servants. We have allies who choose to fight beside us." On the Vorthok flagship, War Alpha Krexthal studied the readings from his scouts. The humans had gathered the largest fleet ever seen in this sector of space. Good. He would destroy them all at once and end this embarrassment. But the scanner readings troubled him. The human fleet was not just human ships. Were Althoran crystal vessels, Zilani, bioships, and even some mechanical constructs he did not recognize. How had the humans convinced these species to fight for them? "War Alpha," his tactical officer reported, "We detect over 300 enemy vessels. They outnumber us 2-1. Krextal's claws scraped against his throne. "Numbers mean nothing. We are Vorthok. We're the apex predators of the galaxy." But doubt gnawed at him. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned prey into predators, slaves into allies. How could such weak creatures command such loyalty? Colonel Beth Turner led the strike force that would change everything. She was a tough woman with steady hands and nerves of steel. Her mission was not to attack the main Vorthok fleet, but to strike deep into their home territory while they were distracted by the battle at Earth. Beth's fleet was small, only 30 ships, but they were crewed by humans, Altharans, Zalani, and members of 6 other species. Each ship was a symbol of what the galaxy could become if the Vorthok were defeated. "All ships. This is Colonel Turner," she announced as they jumped into Vorthok. "Home space. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate." The Vorthok home system was heavily defended, but most of their fleet was heading for Earth. Beth's mixed species task force struck at the orbital installations, broadcasting messages of freedom to the enslaved populations below. "People of all worlds," Beth's voice carried across the system, "the Vorthok are not invincible. Today, we prove that predators can become prey." On the Vorthok homeworld, panic spread through the population. For the first time in their history, enemy ships flew in their skies. The impossible had happened. Their home was under attack. War-Alpha Vexstar, left to defend the home system, could not believe what he was seeing. The attacking ships worked together like parts of a single organism. When one ship was damaged, others covered its retreat. They attacked, they struck as one. How do they coordinate so perfectly? He wondered aloud. His aide, a younger Vorthok named Kethryn, studied the enemy formations. "War Alpha, I think they share information instantly. All their ships know what the others are doing. Impossible. No species can think as one. The humans can, sir. They have taught others to do the same." Back at Earth, the main battle began as the Vorthok fleet dropped out of hyperspace. War Alpha Krextal expected to see the humans scattered in panic. Instead, he found them waiting in perfect formation. Allied ships integrated seamlessly into their battle lines. "Begin the attack," Krextal ordered. "Show these prey animals what it means to face the Vorthok Empire." The battle was unlike anything ever seen in the galaxy. Vorthok bioships, massive and terrible, charged forward in individual glory-seeking attacks. The Allied fleet responded as one mind, ships covering each other, sharing shield power, coordinating their fire. When a Vorthok ship targeted an Althoran crystal vessel, human and Zalani ships would immediately move to protect it. When the humans attacked, Altharan shields would cover them, while Zalani bioweapons weakened the enemy. For the first time in his life, Krextal watched his ships retreat. Not just one or two, but entire battle groups pulling back from the coordinated assault. His officers looked at him with fear in their eyes. "War Alpha," his communication officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the home system. Colonel Turner's forces have taken the orbital defense platforms." Krextal felt something break inside him. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had invaded his home while he was distracted. They had done to him what he had done to countless others. "Sir," another officer reported, "we're detecting uprising on 17 conquered worlds. The slave species are rebelling." The Vorthok Empire was crumbling. The humans had not just beaten them in battle. It shown the galaxy that the mighty predators could be defeated. More importantly, they had shown enslaved species that they could be free. As Krextal watched his empire fall apart, he finally understood what the humans truly were. They were not just another predator species. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. They were apex predators who hunted by making friends. The age of the Vorthok was ending. The age of the Coalition was beginning. And at its heart stood humanity, the species that had learned to turn enemies into allies and prey into predators. The real hunt was over. The Vorthok had lost. War Alpha Krextal stood alone on the bridge of his dying flagship. Around him, the Vorthok Empire burned. Half his fleet was destroyed or retreating. His homeworld was under siege. Slave revolts raged across 20 star systems. 6 months. The humans had destroyed what had taken 2 centuries to build. War Alpha, his communication officer, said weakly, "The humans are transmitting a message." The screen showed Admiral Tony Clark standing calmly on his command bridge. Behind him, humans and aliens worked side by side, their coordination perfect. It made Krextal sick to watch. "We're Alpha Krextal," Tony said. "I'm Admiral Clark of the Human Coalition Fleet. Your empire is finished. Surrender now, and your people will be treated with honor." Krextal's laugh was bitter as poison.
"Honor?
"You know nothing of honor, human. You fight like cowards, hiding behind others, striking from shadows. You are not worthy prey." "Right," Tony replied. "We're not prey at all." The transmission continued. "But I offer you something no Vorthok has ever offered an enemy. Single combat, you and one of our champions. Winner takes all." Krextal's eyes blazed with sudden hope. Single combat is the old way, the honorable way. If he could kill their champion, the human spirit would break. They would scatter like all prey did when their alpha died. "I accept," Krextal snarled. "Send me your strongest warrior." "His name is Captain Danny Wolf," Tony said. "He'll meet you on the neutral station between our fleets." Captain Danny Wolf was not what Krextal expected. The human was average height, maybe 30 years old, with brown hair and steady blue eyes. No visible weapons, no armor, just a simple military uniform. He looked like nothing special. They met in the central chamber of an abandoned space station. Krextal towered over the human, 8 feet of muscle and scales and claws. Danny looked up at him without fear. "So," Krextal said, "you are the human's champion." "You do not look like much, a small creature." Danny smiled. "That's what everyone says right before they lose." The War Alpha's claws extended. This would be quick. One swipe, and the human would be dead. Then his fleet would destroy the demoralized coalition forces. But as Krextal lunged forward, something impossible happened. Danny was not alone. The space station's docking bays burst open. Human marines poured in from 6 directions. Zelani. Biosoldiers dropped from the ceiling. Altheran crystal warriors materialized from hidden alcoves. The entire chamber filled with coalition forces, all moving with perfect coordination. "What is this?" Krextal roared. "This is not single combat." Danny's smile never wavered. "You're right. This isn't single combat. This is how humans really fight. Together." The War Alpha found himself surrounded by dozens of warriors from different species, all working as one. They moved like a single organism with many parts. When he struck at one, others covered them. When he tried to break through their line, they flowed around him like water. Krextal was strong, faster than any human, armed with natural weapons that could tear through metal. But he was just one creature. The coalition fighters were many, and they fought like a pack that had hunted together for years. Slowly, inevitably, they wore him down. Not through any single heroic action, but through the patient, relentless teamwork. That had made humans the ultimate predators on Earth. When Krextal finally fell, Danny Wolf was the one standing over him, but he had not won alone. "Do you understand now?" Danny asked the dying War Alpha. "We're not prey that got lucky. Predators, the kind that hunt in packs and never give up." Krextal's vision was fading, but for the first time he truly saw the humans. They were not weak individuals pretending to be strong. They were something entirely new. A species that hunted by making friends, that became stronger by helping. Others become stronger too. "Your apex predators," he whispered with his last breath. "I understand now." The surrender came within hours. Across the galaxy, Vorthok fleets laid down their weapons. The empire that had seemed eternal crumbled in a single day. But what came next surprised everyone, including the humans themselves. 5 years later, former War Alpha Vexstar walked through the corridors of the Coalition Academy on Earth. He wore the simple gray uniform of an instructor, not the elaborate armor of Vorthok nobility. His students were human children, learning combat techniques that blended human teamwork with Vorthok individual skills. Remember, he told a class of 10-year-olds, "Strength without wisdom is just destruction." The humans taught us that true predators protect their pack, not just themselves. The children listened carefully. Half were human, but others were Althorin, Zelani, and even young Vorthok. But they learned together, played together, and would grow up thinking of each other as family rather than enemies. In another part of the academy, Krextel S., former second in command, now calling himself simply Krex, taught advanced strategy to coalition officers. His lessons focused on understanding different species' strengths and combining them effectively. The old Vorthok way was simple. He explained to his mixed species class, "Find the strongest enemy and defeat them," but humans showed us a better way. Find potential allies and help them become stronger. The galaxy had changed. Where once there had been the Vorthok Empire ruling through fear, now there was the coalition growing through cooperation. Former enemies worked side by side, each species contributing their unique abilities to the common good. Dr. Helen Parker, now the coalition's head of diplomacy, received reports from across known space. New species were asking to join every month. The coalition's reputation had spread beyond even the old Vorthok borders. "Ma'am," her assistant reported, "we have first contact requests from 3 new civilizations. They've heard about us and want to meet." Helen smiled. "Send them the standard welcome package. Make sure they know we're not here to conquer anyone." The ultimate proof of humanity's success was not in the battles they had won, but in the peace they had built. The galaxy's former apex predators now served as protectors and teachers. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together toward common goals, and at the heart of it all were the humans. The species that had learned the ultimate truth about being apex predators. True strength came not from being the best individual hunter, but from making everyone around you better hunters too. The age of the lone predator was over. The age of the pack had begun. The pack was always growing, always welcoming new members, always becoming stronger together. The hunt never ended, but now they hunted together.